What's up, guys? It's the 6 foot S.I.M.P here. Now, it's interesting. We live in modern times where we have the conveniences of internet, air conditioning, libraries, cars, you name it. The list goes on our technological advances. But the gift of this is we live in a much more comfortable world. But the curse is we live in a much more comfortable world. Now, the days of barbarians like Genghis Khan or people who took over the world like Alexander the Great showed when times where men were men and they conquered what they wanted. But now we can't really get away with that because there's laws in place to stop us. But at the end of it all, we go off a carnal human instinct. And this clip right here is going to be pretty interesting, but it's going to display a lot of those instincts without people even realizing it. Now, it's on the Saucecast. And the cool thing about this clip is the co-host, she featured on the Fresh and Fit podcast as a panelist a few days prior and witnessed a fight between Tommy Sotomayor and this individual who got into it with them on Fresh and Fit. And the Fresh and Fit gang is on this podcast to talk about it. So let's see what they're getting into. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. And let's keep it simple.
At that moment, we're in a very small space. And there's lots of rage and arms throwing and things throwing and fight or flight, like flight.
Now, you notice she uses a lot of hyperbolic language. Arms are throwing, small space. She's really trying to explain the scenario, but in a way that sets the tone for a more upset, violent scene. Now, this is very crucial, and we'll see how this plays out.
I'm trying to get out of there.
Okay.
And something happened, and I've never had a panic attack before in my life. Never. But I literally couldn't breathe. You saw me. I was gasping for air, and I was super emotional because there's a huge fucking dude who's throwing fists at this girl, and she's also going crazy. People are restraining her. We're in a very small environment.
Notice how the dude's so huge and she uses vulgar language to describe it. And when she talks about the girl, say, oh, it's just some girl. But at least she admitted that she was being violent too. So at least we can give her that.
And I freaked out. And you were very sweet to me. And you came and you calmed me down. And listen, I had respect for you the whole night. But when you came over and made fun of me, I was like, bro, where's your empathy? You were like, your life was never in danger. It didn't matter. I felt scared and you could not give a fuck. You were like, I'm going to make fun of you tomorrow for that.
Who are you talking about, Myron?
Yeah.
So you're saying Fresh was nice and Myron...
He was like,
so it's naughty and nice. That's the good cop, bad cop approach.
Bad cop.
Myron, what would you like to say about this? I know you're a very opinionated dude. And then we're going to turn it over to Jenny for her opinion on this too.
Well, I guess, fuck your feelings. I don't know, man.
Exactly. Your feelings, not say they're irrelevant, but in this context, what do they really do for anyone? It's crazy how we live in this modern feminist world where women want to be equal. And I'm all for that, but what they don't understand, equality means you get treated the same. What happens after that is entirely dependent on the scenario, the people, and the situation. Like, if you want to be treated fairly, most men don't even get the consideration if they're okay. If they fall down, no one says, are you okay, man? And helps them up. Usually it's just like they'll laugh at best, or they'll just keep walking. But if a woman falls down and trips or hurts themselves in any kind of way, someone, male or female, is going to come to their rescue or come to their aid. So this whole notion that, oh, he has to respect your feelings, is just asking for the most.
It's just another day in the office of Fresh and Fit, man. Like, confrontation happens.
But you're bringing girls into this environment. Like, you are. You're there facilitating your content and your viewership. You should at least make sure that they feel safe. And in that moment, I didn't. And instead of being like, hey, sorry, are you okay?
Let me just frame this a different way. Totally understand where you're coming from. You're my homegirl. You're on the show. But I'm talking about what happened with the gentleman and the lady. Like, what happened with that? Where does that stand? Yes.
Okay.
Your feelings do matter. I'm not going to say...
Now, obviously, that's her friend, her co-host, so he's going to be more concerned about her feelings, and that's fine. Like I said, I'm not saying her feelings are irrelevant, but I saw that podcast with the fight they're referring to with Tommy Sotomayor and the lady who hit him, and it was crazy. It was a crazy scene, but they handled it very well. They neutralized the situation very quickly. But I also saw this current podcast that we're reviewing, and they were both, her and the other girl, but mainly her, the one that's talking, were going hard on how women are this and how independence is important. And it's just crazy to me. Every time we talk about independence, it switches right on to the other side when it's talked about what the women should be treated like by everyone else. Because if you want the equal opportunities that they keep saying they want, it's 2022, we want equal rights. This is it. No one cares about a man's feelings. No one cares about a man's well-being for the most part. But if you want that, you can't play both sides.
To say fuck your feelings. However, he's entitled to his opinion.
Yeah.
But what happened with the gentleman and the lady, what they were arguing about? Who wants to answer that?
Basically, some stuff that he posted on his Instagram. She didn't like the way he posted certain things, and he was like, "Well, I'm going to post what I want. You can post what you want. Just don't watch the content," which he's right. And then she struck him first, and then that's what led to all that other stuff. She hit him first, and obviously, I'm glad I was able to get in there and break it up, and it was under control, which is why.
Did he
to
swing
me, I look
back
at it like
her?
I mean,
Yes.
So
Yeah, what's the stance on
hold
that?
on.
Like a chick.
Now, he did swing back, but he didn't make any actual contact because Myron got in between them and broke it up. Like I said, he neutralized it very rapidly. But this poses a question. I was actually talking to one of my friends just before I recorded this. Shouts out to the Black Sheep Don't Sleep. And we're saying some guys aren't going to hold you to that chivalrous standard of, I will never hit a woman. I actually have another friend, and we're talking about if it was a dangerous situation where your life was in danger. Let's say a woman had a gun and you have a gun. I'm a concealed carrier. I have a gun. I'm a very two-way supporter. And I asked him, if you had a gun and it was a life or death situation and a woman was threatening your life, meaning you could die. And he said he wouldn't do anything, or rephrase, he said he wouldn't kill her. And I'm like, what would you do then? Because I'm being honest, I would have to neutralize the situation. I'm gonna word like that. The K word I know could be triggering, but I would neutralize the situation. That's all I'm gonna leave it at. And it's not because I'm a big bad man. It's because if my life's at danger, why should I hold it to a lesser standard? My father's police. One of the things he taught me was when he became police, they asked you, is a 80-year-old woman a threat? Yes. If you say no, then you might lose your life. Now, granted, you won't think that, but in a high stakes situation, these things happen. But the notion that we got to dismiss women as a threat is ludicrous to me. As a kid coming up, I used to think this. Up in probably to my early 20s, like 22, 23, I would think, oh, women are such delicate creatures. They could never harm anyone physically, let alone emotionally. And I definitely have gone through emotional pain. But even physical, I've been punched in the face by women hard as she can. Now, granted, I ate like a 2-piece biscuit from Popeyes, but nonetheless, that's not right. And I didn't do anything. Like I said, I'm 6'1", 235 pounds. I could do some damage, but I was taught not to do that. But is that okay? I don't think so.
A chick who swings at a dude, disrespect.
So
but a guy shouldn't hit back. What's the rule on that?
So
See what I'm saying? And that's nothing against this guy. Like, at the end of the day, we all were indoctrinated to this. And like I said, my friend's still on it. I used to be on it. And granted, if I can stop it without hitting her, I will. But you got to think, sometimes these situations can get crazy. And the fact that we just don't even think that these women can be harmful is weird.
we do it live, right? So things are fast paced.
Yep.
You're in the moment. It's heated arguments happening, and we do it live. That being said, in that environment, he felt like he was being attacked verbally and physically, right? So naturally, you're gonna want to defend yourself and do certain things. Now, she did hit him, you know, so that right there is triggering. So he's gonna retaliate in a certain way.
Now, the lady mentioned earlier fight or flight. And as I mentioned on previous videos, I'm in the brain performance, mental performance field. So this is a term I know very well. Now, when fight or flight happens, what happens is your sympathetic nervous system gets ignited. This is your heart rate increases, your muscles constrict, your breathing rate increases. All that increases to get you ready for battle. That's why it's called fight or flight. That's the sympathetic nervous system. Now, the thing is, when this happens, you have a part of your brain called the amygdala. Now, the amygdala is your emotional response center. Think instinctual response. This is where we just react off a whim. And this is dangerous because in a high stakes situation, you want to be able to think clearly, but in fight or flight, you're not going to be able to do that, especially if you're not trained to. Our soldiers are trained to do that. Most police are, not all. But at the end of the day, if you're not trained to handle high stakes situations, you're going to revert to what we call your worst level of performance. And what I do with my business is try to train that. But in this case, Tommy, he goes into fight or flight. You get hit, you're going to react. Now, am I saying he's right or wrong? No, I could care less who's right or wrong. But at the end of the day, his brain went into fight or flight mode. So if she's going to use fight or flight, I'm going to use it right back at her.
Regarding the whole fight, whatever, Myron was able to hold him back, and Chris was able to hold her back. So nothing happened, but it could have been bad. But we did it live, you know, we didn't expect it to happen, and that's the thing about having a live show. You never know what's gonna happen. So in that environment, we all have our role to play. He's doing the sound equipment, he's doing like the help people stay apart. I'm doing like the consoling, all that stuff. So we have our part to play.
Yeah, I mean, it was under control, man. Like,
Yeah.
it was 100% under control. Like, I
Yeah.
was able to get in there, stop it. Like, it was 100% under control, which is why I didn't feel empathy, because I'm like, bro, it's under control. Like, it is what it is. I
We've
mean,
had
you can
worse.
feel, the reality
You're
is,
gonna be
like,
a really good dad.
the reality is this: it was safe.
Yeah.
How you feel is really irrelevant because you were safe. Like, if you didn't.
Exactly. If there's no danger, You're allowed to feel scared and frightened, but that's on you, nobody else. Because what does that do for the situation? And this is why when we talk about emotional, I'm not trying to sound anti-women, but when women talk about they want to be leaders, but especially in the military and law enforcement, that kind of mentality. Now, I know there's women that don't think like that who are in those positions, but that kind of mentality is more likely to be on a woman than a man. And that's going to be very detrimental in those situations.
You didn't feel that way. I'm sorry, you might have felt that way. But
That's all. That's it. That's literally it. It's saying, hey, I'm sorry that you felt this way. That's it.
Okay, but it was.
See, this is what it really comes down to. She just wanted the satisfaction to be coddled. And that's, once again, this is not what happens. You want equality, being coddled. Men don't get coddled. You want to be coddled, be a woman. That's fine, because we want you to be women. But when you try to argue and have a meat measuring contest, this is not what we want. So if you want to have a meat measuring contest, you got to stand your ground. And men don't ask to be coddled. Oh, please feel sorry for me. And that's what it comes down to, being a victim.
But it was a safe environment. I can't control how you feel. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna
You can't
cry and
control it, but
hyperventilate and stuff, like, that's on you. That's not on me. Like, it
I'm
was
not
under
blaming
control.
you for how I feel. I'm just asking you to be
It was under control.
empathetic.
It was
F your feelings, girl.
under control.
Well, I will say this. You have a lot of ladies on the show.
Yeah.
And I was there 10 at a time, and they were all well behaved.
So we're going to end the video right here. And it was pretty interesting to see how our natural human instincts come out despite how we try to play it in modern times. Even though she tried to play some buzzwords like fight or flight, which, since this is my field, I'm in the psychological sciences, I know how to use these properly. And while she used them in passing, I broke down how it actually works and how hitting a man and all that stuff in real time, it may not go the way you think. Making decisions, processing things under fear, emotion, it distorts reality, sometimes perception. And just like Myron said, we can't control your perception of things. So all in all, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. And remember, keep it simple.